It's always a pleasure when we get to talk to Terry MOSHER, AISLIN, of course, who for so many years, for all of us, I think, marked so many big events in this province, in this country, in the world, with some of the best editorial cartoons ever. So I had a chance to run into Terry a couple of weeks ago to benefit softball game, and I promised Terry we'd come on the air. I didn't think it would be because of what we're going to do now first, but I want you to talk about the new book you have coming out. But first, let me ask you, first of all, you're very much aware, I'm sure, of the controversy over the whole Boris cartoon. Showing this elderly woman walking her dog while it urinates in front of a poster of René Lévesque. So, first of all, as someone who does this for a living, you've been in trouble, if I can use that word, lots of times over your career for some of the cartoons you did. What did you think of this one?
You're kidding me?
Yeah, once or twice. Maybe I exaggerated.
Yeah, well, of course. And it's the nature of the game. You know, if you're involved in satire, it's inevitable you're going to ruffle some feathers from time to time, and sometimes even mistakenly, Aaron. Which this is the case with the Boris cartoon, because he's not by nature a fellow who does that. He's a nice cartoonist, sort of in the tradition of Sampé, the great French cartoonist who recently passed away, and so on. And he loves doing sort of gentle scapes of Montreal and people on benches and wonderful scenarios. But in this particular case, remember, you're always looking for an angle. You look at a situation, something comes up, whatever it happens to be, and you're looking for the funny side of it. And that's exactly what happened in this. I've spoken to, his name is actually Jacques Goldstein, about what it was, and he's puzzled by all this. He doesn't really want to be the flavor of the day in the media. In any case, he looked at the 100th anniversary of René Lévesque's birth, and, a lot of people sort of just almost turning Lévesque into a saint. That seems to have happened recently. He's almost an untouchable on the French side of the media. In any case, is there a funny side to this? So he thought of some sort of Anglo reaction, an old Anglo reaction that used to exist back in the day to all of this celebration of Lévesque. Maybe an old lady with her dog, and the dog is surreptitiously, peeing on the poster of René Lévesque. So the object was actually older Anglophones and their attitudes. That's what he was really aiming at. But of course, once it was seen and without looked at carefully, it was thought to be some sort of huge criticism, or not criticism, or disrespect to René Lévesque.
Right. I'm wondering, you said you spoke to him, which is interesting because I saw him yesterday. He obviously didn't expect this thing to kind of catch fire the way it did, right?
No, he didn't. He didn't. In fact, he's done 14 or 15 interviews today. And, of course, it's always the same questions and answers from the media. So he's repeating the same story, pretty much what I just told you now, over and over and over again. He's not used to it, Aaron.
Okay.
So
he's a nice, sensitive guy. You should have him on your show. He's a really fascinating guy.
We did try.
Today was not the right day,
He's
a
little busy today, evidently. But what I'm curious about is this idea that if you're having to explain what it represents, does that mean it's not working, or the whole idea here is to raise questions and spark conversation?
Well, it's slightly not working. It might have, I think probably if he drew it again, he would have more of an explanatory line. And me being the iconoclast I am, the explanatory line would probably read something like, old Anglos never die, they just piss away.
Well, there's one way of looking at it, yeah.
But he wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do that. But yeah, it probably required a little bit. Certainly, I read the columnist in La Presse, is backlash, and I think she got it. And she understood that perhaps he hadn't got it quite right, that it required a little more work.
It's interesting when Paul St. Pierre Plamondon, the PQ leader, saw this, and he's the one who sort of made hay with this to begin with, and it kind of spread from there. And once he heard Boris talk about the fact, as you just explained it, Terry, that was not his focus, that was not his intention, he kind of let it go and said, well, he accepted his explanation as if he owed him an explanation of some kind. But I thought, have you ever had that happen where you've actually felt the need to explain or been called out?
Once. And it had to do with the Mohawk, and I had done the Mohawk flag in a very disrespectful way because of marijuana growing, and I got a heartfelt letter from a woman in Ganawage saying, she was trying to explain the flag to her daughter and the pride, and then her daughter saw this. And I'm a sucker for that sort of thing, children and so on. So I apologize publicly for doing this specific. Otherwise, I've never apologized.
Okay, but you have taken heat for some stuff you've done over the years.
Oh, I've done a lot of things. The whole, so many things. I could write a book just on controversial cartoons alone.
Which is not a bad idea for your next book.
But it's the nature of the game. You know that, Aaron. You've been seeing this myself. Serge Chaplot, as he says, about once a year we get into the soup, as he explains it. But he also pointed out that Plamondon has backed off, and also there was an interesting discussion. Apparently, I'm in Toronto, so I didn't know what was going on initially, but there was an interesting discussion on Radio Canada this morning about, do we let this? Do we allow this or don't we? As in France with Charlie Hebdo, almost anything goes. So, and we respect that in the French, in their satire. It's quite savage at times. Do we allow that here? So, and anyway,
I think the line just dropped. Oh, okay.
I'm in my car. So can you hear me?
Yeah, we can again,
yeah. In any case, so it's created a discussion about satire and where we go. But I think the main point is that Jacques did not mean to do that. I mean, he's a bit of a Quebec nationalist. He voted a couple of times.
Which came out in the interview when he explained, hey, I'd be the last guy to do this, right? I voted yes in both referendums. So, Terry, we're going to run out of time. I want you to just, if you can.
Yeah, we want to hear about your next book, your new book. We know the next book's going to be about how you ruffled feathers and got into trouble. What's this book about?
Well, that's a good idea. I'll do that. Actually, in a nutshell, I've been hired at the Gazette now for 50 years, and one of the first things they did was send me to Moscow for the 1972 Head of Russia hockey series. I did a lot of sketches, spoke to a lot of people, so I have a little memoir of that. It's called From Montreal to Moscow. It's out officially today.
Great.
And there's a nice big public launch of the book. Thursday on the 8th, but you'll be reading all about it in Friday's Gazette, the anniversary of the first game in Montreal.
Well,
so from Montreal to Moscow is the name of the book, and you obviously have some cartoons in this as well, or is it just you talking about your memories of that?
No, I did lots of cartoons at the time, Esposito beating people up and all kinds of fun things. It's not as authoritative as Ken Dryden's book or Gary J. Smith's book, but it's a lot funnier.
Perfect. From Montreal to Moscow, and you said it's officially out today, so you can find it at local bookstores. You can find it online.
Oh yeah,
I guess.
Sure. And I'll be posting online about it and so on. Hey, thanks for that, Aaron.
Yeah, you're welcome, Terry. Thank you very much. I appreciate you taking some time for us today. It's always great talking to you.
Okay. Bye now.
Terry Mosher, AISLIN, and his view, and he talked to Boris. He said, right? He talked to Jacques Goldstein about that cartoon. Mm-hmm. Never his intent to have ruffled any feathers.
There you go.